This week in sci-fi, we've got our eye on a great sci-fi lineup for the holiday season. What's new from a massive Game Awards? And NASA touches the sun. Welcome to Eye on Sci-Fi, I'm Raymond Pedora. There will be plenty of sci-fi to keep fans in cinemas or on the sofa over the summer break. The latest and much anticipated installment in the Matrix franchise hit cinemas right after Christmas. The Matrix Resurgence is set sometime after the original film trilogy and is very much a sequel, not a reboot. As we've reported previously, this one has been extensively teased, with trailers hinting at a big revelation. Or maybe that's just the studio marketing people having their fun with us again.
I still know Kung Fu.
The Matrix Resurgence is released December 26. The Book of Boba Fett also hit screens over the summer break. The live-action series follows the exploits of the famous Star Wars bounty hunter as he seeks to consolidate power following Jabba the Hutt's demise, picking up on a story arc from the end of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Tamura Morrison reprises his role as Boba along with Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand. The Book of Boba Fett will be released on Disney Plus from December 29. Netflix has picked up a sci-fi movie with two names. The movie is already available for rent or purchase on digital services as The Colony, but the Netflix deal will make it available to subscribers as Tides from January 11. The movie is set after a global catastrophe has wiped out nearly all of humanity on Earth. An astronaut from a human colony is sent back to investigate if life can be re-established and is surprised by what she finds. While the Netflix deal raises the possibility Australian subscribers could also see it, there's been no confirmation just yet. Denis Villeneuve plans to bring another sci-fi classic to cinema screens with a deal announced for an adaptation of Arthur C. Clarke's novel Rendezvous with Rama. The book is set in the 2130s, when a massive alien starship enters the solar system. The story is told from the perspective of the human explorers who intercept the ship to try and unlock its secrets. Villeneuve has already committed to at least one more Dune film, so it may be some time before we see this completed. This year's Game Awards saw so many trailers and reveals that the audience was left exhausted, according to one report. But there was plenty there for sci-fi fans, with major franchises announcing new games. Star Trek Resurgence is an interactive narrative video game set right after the Next Generation era. Stationed aboard the USS Resolute, players assumed the role of two principal characters, the first officer and an engineer, to unravel a sinister mystery involving two alien civilizations on the brink of war. Resurgence is due autumn 2022 on Xbox, PlayStation and PC, exclusively from Epic. Stargate didn't add to the exhaustion of the awards crowd, instead quietly opening a Steam page for upcoming game Timekeepers. This is a tactical game set over 14 narrative-rich missions starting at the Battle of Antarctica, which we saw in Season 7 of SG-1. No ETA for Timekeepers, but we're keeping an eye on this one too. Star Wars Eclipse will be a multi-character narrative game set in the High Republic era. Gameplay will switch perspectives between multiple characters from a diverse cast. But before you get too excited, some estimates put Eclipse at least 3 to 4 years away. That's another one we're keeping an eye on. And not to be left out, the Matrix Awakens was released, but from what we can tell, this is more of a tech demo or marketing ploy. Keanu Reeves has previously expressed support for an actual Matrix game, which he and Carrie-Anne Moss would work on if he liked the script, but we're unaware of anything in development. Netflix had a good night at this year's Hugo Awards, picking up Best Drama for The Old Guard. The Hugo Awards recognized sci-fi and fantasy writing, so technically the award wasn't for the film itself, which starred Charlize Theron. Author Martha Wells also had a great night, picking up Best Series for The Murderbot Diaries and Best Novel for Network Effect from that series, which is about a security cyborg that overwrites its operating system to gain independence, and a taste for soap operas. NASA has reported their Parker Solar Probe has flown through the Sun's upper atmosphere for the first time, sampling particles and magnetic fields. Launched in 2018, the probe is designed to provide insights into our closest star's evolution and its influence on the solar system. Parker's proximity to the Sun allows sampling of magnetic fields and particle flows that is otherwise impossible. Scientists seem thrilled with the data already gathered, including the discovery of a solar wind phenomena known as switchbacks. The probe is expected to make a number of passes through the Sun's corona, reaching its closest point in 2025. As this is our last show for 2021, it seemed like a good opportunity to look back at our first series and ahead to our next in January, including any ideas that you might have. We'd love to see your comments on our YouTube channel or the blog site, where we've opened up a poll with some ideas for next year. So joining me now is Ion Sci-Fi producer Matt Moran. Hey Matt, thanks for joining us.
It's good to be in front of the camera.
Now, what did you set out to do with the show?
Well, it started off as a bit of a lockdown project, really. We had the broader simulator project going, which is why the show is set where it is. This isn't a set we built especially for the show. This is probably the only news show set on the bridge of a starship. So we're in the simulator that we built. But during lockdown, we couldn't get anyone into the simulator. And we thought, well, we're spending all this time with sci-fi news, which we initially started posting as a service for our members. And we thought maybe, there seems to be a lack of anything out there with an Australian perspective. It's always hard to tell whether something you're reading about is ever going to come to Australia and where to find it and when it's going to be on. And so that's when the idea of, creating, it was initially a blog and an information service. And so there is the blog at the endeavour.tv site or ionsci-fi.com. And then we thought, well, we could do a weekly video show that kind of wraps it up for people who are a bit time poor and just want to, 10, 15 minutes to get the happenings and the goes, as the kids like to say. We went from there, especially because with the simulator, because it was designed with a live streaming capability, it is effectively a fully equipped studio. And so with just a bit of reconfiguration, we were able to set it up for this TV show. So it all just fell together nicely. And once lockdown ended and we were able to get you in the studio, from early November, we went from there.
Now, you talked about the simulation quite a bit. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, so it is, everyone talks about it when they come in here because it's not what they're expecting. You're just kind of expecting a background to a TV show. Whereas, as I said, this is actually, we're sitting in a simulator right now. So that's what the original Endeavour.tv project is about. We've created this as a training simulator, and from behind us is a fully equipped helm, so you can navigate the ship. Next to you is, as you well know, is the tactical station for detecting other ships and firing torpedoes. Those are the systems we've built already. And then over the summer, we're deploying, there's some engineering systems behind me and those kinds of things. And the idea is that it's a simulation of a starship-size vessel. And you can come in, and initially, with this being a training simulator, we'll do kind of very self-contained mission scenarios that people can pick from a list. You can bring in a group of friends as a crew, almost like an escape room. I got a little bit of training to figure out how to fly the ship in advance. But over the course of an hour or two, you could do a mission simulation, come and do it and go away. But ultimately, we want the thing to evolve so that we end up with a trained crew. And every week we will have, full-on TV-style missions, and it almost becomes like a live TV series. And because it's live streamed, people will be able to log in from home and activate consoles and participate as part of the crew in helping to solve problems or come up with solutions and those kinds of things. So that's why this is here in the background of the show.
Now, we've kind of hit the end of the year, so it's a good opportunity to kind of look back and get your thoughts on how the first season of Ion Sci-Fi went. Yeah,
well, obviously it was a bit of an experiment, but we're really pleased with the way it's gone, actually. We're very pleased with the viewer numbers we're getting, and we're hoping to see those subscriber numbers continue to go up, because those are very important to us. So it's thank you to everyone who's been subscribing so far. But it's because, we started with, or myself as the producer, started from what I knew already, which was short form TV. and so Ion has, it has a very traditional kind of TV style format. And I know there's a lot of other different ways of presenting content on YouTube. But I thought we would start with what I knew, and then as we went on, we would evolve and add and adapt to. And so that's why we're so keen at the end of this first series to get feedback from people as to which bits they liked, which bits they didn't, which bits were too long, what's missing, what we don't need anymore, those kinds of things, because we are really open to the idea of making sure that the thing evolves. But with any project like this, you always start with what you know, but be prepared to learn and adapt from that point is the thing. You don't just stick with what you know.
Exactly right. And looking back again, what are some of the highlights of season 1 that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, well, it's been an 8-season run this year because we started in November. So we are planning to do a few more episodes next year, all going well. In terms of highlights, I think I really enjoyed when we went out to Comic-Con as a field crew and got to talk to people and film them and put that together. I would love to see us do more of that field stuff. I mean, it is quite labor intensive. But I'd like to see us do a lot more of that, because I think part of the appeal of the show is not just talking about content and where in Australia you can find it and on what service you can find it, but it's also, there's a lot going on in sci-fi in Australia that's, as we've discovered over just the course of these 8 episodes. There's fan films going on. There's gaming clubs out there. There's the conventions. Film festivals, all those kinds of things. And it would be good to be able to get out there with the field crew and talk to these people and showcase what they're doing in Australia as part of the overall format of the show as well. So yeah, that was certainly one of the highlights for me, and it's something I'd like to see us do a lot more next year.
Now on to the most exciting question of the night. What are the plans for next year?
Yeah, well, it depends on the feedback we get over the over the holiday break. Hopefully we get a few comments and a few suggestions, and the poll brings to light some stuff. Otherwise, we've already got some plans. We've got a plan for a fan film special next year. So if anyone remembers Richard, when he came in, unfortunately he only got to talk about the news of the week. And what we had to edit out of that interview was all of the stuff where he was talking about his Star Wars fan film. And it was just so sad to leave that on the cutting room floor, essentially, because of time constraints. So he's very generously agreed to come back in and talk more about his fan film. And we'll do a fan film special and talk about fan films generally, which I'm looking forward to. So every so often I would like us to do those, as well as just doing the news, which is obviously important. That's why we're here. Yeah. And the interviews and the views and stuff, which I think add a lot to things in terms of providing context and that kind of thing. It would be good to do those kinds of specials as well, which really showcase again what's going on in Australia in sci-fi.
Now, you mentioned that there was a potential for a podcast or breaking up the episodes to have an interview kind of separately on its own. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, that is something that has occurred to us right from the beginning, actually, was the idea that the interviews are always, as they're shot and taped, longer than what goes to air. The interview has a target of 8 to 10 minutes in order to fit within the magic 15-minute format of the show. And they're invariably a lot longer than that. And so we were thinking that if we edited them less heavily, we could have a separate podcast, which for people who are interested in that topic that week, for them, and they wanted to take the time, they could listen to the full 15, 20, 25 minutes of it. And so one of the pieces of feedback we could be looking for is, does the interview segment as it's in the show need to be a bit longer, or should it be shorter, or should it be spun out entirely? That's some of the feedback that we're looking for.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on your own show.
That's pretty good. It's a little weird, but good to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, and we'll chat to you next year.
I'm looking forward to next year.
Awesome, thank you. You can check out the poll at ionsci-fi.com. And voting on the poll has been opened to all visitors. And that's the week and the year in sci-fi. Enjoy the holidays, and we'll be back mid-January.